that moment of like, holy cow, I'm capable of things that I didn't think I was capable of. That was really when I was like, oh, more women need to do this, because I know for a fact my mental health has stopped me from doing so many things I wanted to do because I didn't have the confidence in myself. I didn't have the belief in myself. I'm choking up. Mountain biking showed me how to believe in myself, and that became my mission, to help other women see what they're capable of through mountain biking. It's a powerful sport.
Joining us in the studio today is the founder of the Ladies AllRide mountain bike skills camps. She's a former Survivor TV show participant, marketing dynamo, and all-around outdoor sport enthusiast. She loves inspiring women to face their fears, gain skills, and have fun on mountain bikes. Please welcome Lindsey Richter. Hi, Lindsey.
Hello.
It's so good to see you again. It's been a while.
Thanks. Good to see you too.
Where are you in the world today?
Today, I am at my home in Bend, Oregon.
Bend. I love Bend, although I've never been there, but I hear such great things about it. I'm going to say I love it.
I love it. It's great. Everyone's moving here. It's great.
Well, Lindsey, welcome to the show. As you know, this is Changing Gears, and it's all about the celebration of great people like yourself, what they do on and off the bike, and making this world a better place. And so we're super excited to have you on the show. Before we jump into sort of the big stuff, let's start with the simple stuff. Where were you born?
I was born in Portland, Oregon.
And what did your parents do when you were growing up?
Oh, they tried to raise us. My dad was a lawyer, just retired at 78 years old from the same job he's had since 1973.
Wow.
So interesting. And then my mom raised us. She drove us everywhere and kept us alive to the best of her ability. Yep.
You say we, so I'm assuming there's some siblings in there.
Yes, I have an older brother.
And what does your brother do?
My brother's in insurance, actually, which is so funny because he wanted to be a writer, but he went into insurance because it pays the bills, and he's got a family, 2 kids. They live in Portland, but they visit Bend a lot, so it's great. We're super close.
So you're an aunt.
I am an aunt. I'm an aunt of a little boy and a little girl. It's pretty exciting. Yeah.
Do you love it?
I do. It's actually really connected my brother and I, because I was so competitive growing up. That's part of my story, is just I had an older brother, so I chased the boys all the time, you know?
Sure.
And it really wasn't until after college that we started connecting. And then when he had kids, it really brought us closer. So it's really fun, because I'm not going to go down the human children route. So it's fun. It's fun being an aunt, you know?
You said human children, but you have children, right? You have four-legged children?
I have 4-legged children. I am a dog mom. I've been a dog mom for the last 22 years. Yeah.
Awesome. What's your dog's name?
Izzy.
And what kind of dog is Izzy?
Well, what's funny is I've gone from 20 years of pit bulls, which were my breed of choice because they're just awesome, to a mutt. She is a Shih Tzu poodle fluffy mutt. Very different.
Right, Lindsey, this is a clean show. Please, no profanity.
I'll try.
That's cool. Does she travel with you?
She does. Yeah. I'm in a van, so all my dogs have traveled with us. It's been great.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Hey, back to your childhood. So growing up, what kind of things were you into sort of on the active outdoor kind of thing?
Everything. I was a city girl. We grew up just outside the city in Portland, but we had lots of forests nearby. So I was always running in the forests and just playing outside. But as far as sports go, I did it all. Soccer, basketball, softball. My brother was super into basketball. We had a basketball court in our cul-de-sac. So always playing horse, always shooting hoops with the boys. And then I rode horses. I was really big into horses. So I'd ride other people's horses and just fell in love with the whole horse scene for a while. Horses were more important to me than boys, so I was kind of a nerd.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I got into cross country and track in high school, quit soccer and all those sports, and that's where I really found that I excelled, just racing against people and only relying on myself.
And cross country, we're talking about running,
Running.
not cross country mountain biking.
Yeah, cross country running in high school. Because I
Do you
am of
still
the
run?
age where I was in high school in the 90s. I don't run. Oh no, running is horrible. I find it very painful. Yeah,
So just cycling now.
just cycling now. Yeah, I'll do
Do you
some.
hit the gym?
I try to hit the gym. Yeah, as I'm nearing 50, I need to keep those bones strong, so I'm trying. But I've never been much of a trainer.
There is no way you are nearing 50.
Totally, we're close to the same
No
age.
way. No way.
Uh,
Okay, so growing up, you're into all kinds of sports. I'm assuming your parents were super supportive of anything you and your brother wanted to do. Were you into cycling at all as a kid?
we rode bikes around the neighborhood, and we went to this ranch every summer for vacation here in Central Oregon called Black Butte Ranch, and we were let loose on our bikes. So early on, I found that freedom in getting away from my family on my bike. So we definitely were into bikes, but I wasn't building jumps and hucking off curbs. It was funny because I used to guide horseback rides, and my dad
Yeah.
had a mountain bike, and he would go out onto the horse trails to try to find me. And I would be like, oh my God, my dad, he's on his bike. That's so embarrassing. These are horse trails. Nobody rides their bike on horse trails, Dad. So he likes to think he's the first mountain biker in Oregon because that was like in the 80s.
Oh, funny.
Yeah.
That's awesome. When so you're into all kinds of sports and horses, were there, superstars or heroes of any sport that you started to like follow and watch and admire? Any sort of celebrities of either, the equestrian world or running or whatever?
Not really. I really don't remember having any big heroes growing up. I would think I was a very self-absorbed, competitive athlete who didn't really look to heroes. I looked within, which is interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so let's change gears a little bit and get a little bit older. So you're a teenager now, you're approaching sort of high school, college. What were some of your educational interests and what'd you study in school?
I went to school for journalism. I've always enjoyed writing, which is different than writing.
Yeah.
Writing. So I went to school for journalism. I won a couple of awards writing for the school newspaper at the University of Arizona in Tucson. I wanted to see what it might be like to live in the sun for a little while because I grew up in the rain. That was
Yep.
shocking. But journalism and writing really was my passion. However, in college, I did nothing for my body. I did no sports. I was going to go to run track at the University of Arizona and just didn't. I just was kind of lured into the social scene. My whole family was in the Greek system, from my grandparents to my parents to my brother. They were all in sororities and fraternities. So, that's all you know when you see that your whole family did that. So I joined a sorority, and it's probably the worst decision I've ever made in my life because I ended up
No, come on.
getting kicked out. Yeah. Oh yeah. They didn't want.
You got kicked out of the
I
sorority?
got kicked out of my sorority, which I say that in my opening speeches at my events now, and I say it like this: it's a big, fat, you don't fit in here. That's really how my college experience went, was you don't fit in here, which is a great jumping off point for where I am today.
Wow, I'm going to have my son listen to this because he is pledging a fraternity right now.
It's a different lifestyle. I see the positives in it, the social aspect, and how they guide you kind of socially, and they're structured in a way that they want you to get good grades and you have to follow the rules. But that was the key word for me, rules.
Yeah, rules.
Give me
Love it.
rules in college. What?
Love it. So you're studying journalism, you got kicked out of the sorority, but you still love journalism and the whole art of marketing. What was your career path? Like, what were you going to do? What were your dreams of getting out of college?
Honestly, at that point, I got out of college in 1995, the late 1900s. And I really wanted to be a National Geographic writer, and photography
Ooh.
was my minor. So I kind of had this plan to work for National Geographic. And I ended up living in Australia randomly for 3 years after college and helping run a professional baseball team on the marketing side. No idea what I was doing. Australia didn't know much about baseball because they're very much into cricket. So that was an interesting challenge in my early 20s, learning how to do marketing for a sport in a country where that sport wasn't very well known. So that was really cool. 3 years of marketing in the professional baseball world in Australia. Random.
Now, you're avoiding somehow the name of that team, and our researchers have done their homework. So, for our listeners all over the world, which we have millions of, what was the name of that team?
The Gold Coast Cougars.
Oh yeah, the Gold Coast. Are they still around as a team?
I think they are. I actually tried to look it up the other day because I think they are. So funny.
I love that.
I know. I have a very random
Gold Coast
life.
Cougars.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, we're gonna change gears again into the next round, which we call the sprint round. This is where I throw a sort of the quick fire round where I'm going to throw a this or that at you, and so we can sort of understand what your personal preferences are in the world.
Okay.
All right. You
Yeah,
ready?
I'm ready.
Pancakes or waffles?
Pancakes.
Beer or wine?
I mean, I'll drink both, but I would tend to wine.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Tacos or burritos?
Ooh, it just depends on the mood. Both. Tacos when I don't have a big appetite. Burritos when I need to fill the gut.
Yeah. It is funny how big burritos are.
Yeah, breakfast burritos, I would say. They're good.
Oh, yeah. Good. Spicy or mild?
I tend to go towards spicy these days, which is new for me. Spice things up.
Well, they say as we get older, our taste buds sort of get milder, right? So you need to give them a little bit more.
Give me some spice. Yeah.
My grandfather would over salt things and have things blazing hot just so that he could taste something.
Totally.
He probably had other things going on, but cold weather or hot weather?
Cold weather.
Rain or snow?
Snow. And rain. I love rain. I grew up in the rain. It's comforting.
Yeah, I mean,
I love both, but I love snow.
Arizona was rough for you, right? Because it rained like 4 days?
And then it would just flood. I'm like, what? You don't have drainage systems here? What?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I just participated in an event in Tempe recently, and the one day it was a triathlon, and the one day that it rained in Tempe, it basically contaminated the lake that we were going to swim in, and they had to shut it down.
Totally. Arizona doesn't know how to handle rain. It's pretty funny.
My goodness.
Yeah.
The mountains or the beach?
Oh, the mountains.
Big cities or quiet suburbs?
Quiet suburbs these days.
Cars or trucks?
Trucks.
Pavement or dirt?
Dirt.
Yes. Gloves or gloveless?
Oh, I tend to go both ways. It depends. It depends on how hot it is, but then I sweat in the hand. So I would say I would most of the time I'm wearing gloves.
Clipped in or flat pedals?
This is an interesting one. I refer to myself as a recovering clipped in addict who has recently moved to flats. Over the last, I'd say 2 years, I've committed full time to flats, and I'm a convert.
Really?
Yeah, after 20-something years of clipping in. Well, first it was for coaching. Most of my students come in flats. And it was interesting because they'd fly off their pedals. And I'd be like, I don't know why you fly off your pedals. I don't. Like, maybe I should ride flats and see what they're dealing with. So it was a knee surgery and coaching that pushed me towards flats. And then, I ride a lot of places I don't know. And I like, one of my challenges for myself is to ride everything sight unseen without stopping, just ride it. And I find myself more confident riding stuff I don't know in flats. And I don't think it's affected my climbing or my descending at all now that I know how to do it. But it did take me a year of cussing and being really mad.
If you went to a big gravity park like Whistler, would you switch, or would you just like let's say you're doing B line or A line, would you clip in or stay on flats?
I stayed on flats this year, which was new to me. I usually downhill in clips just because I feel more secure and stable, but I'm really trying to embrace flats. And I felt like I did okay in Whistler on flats this year.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All right, 3 more quick fires. Low pressure or high pressure in your tires?
Ooh, I'm kind of more of a high pressure person to just avoid flats. And I hate to admit this, but I'm one of those people that's like, squeeze, squeeze. Yeah, it feels good. Whenever I'm around racers, they're just like so calculated. They pull up their notes and where they are in the world and what their tire pressure should be. I'm like, what?
Oh man, I'm gonna have to put an ad in the show notes for our the zip the zip not the zip product, but the product that we make called Tire Whiz, which is a digital air
I
pressure
know
sensor.
Tire Whiz. Yeah, it's way easier for me to have the Tire Whiz or the Shock Whiz because it just tells me what to do.
I know. Maybe we could get you more Tire Whizzes for the camps.
Yeah. So far, I've had no problems with my tire pressure.
On the mechanical side, fix it yourself or take it to a mechanic.
Oh, take it to a mechanic. I know how to fix things myself. I just don't want to. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I want someone else to make sure my bike's not going to fall apart.
I'm right there with you. And our last one, but I already know the answer, and so does our audience. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So moving into the next segment of the show here, you've graduated, you've left the Cougars, the Gold Coast Cougars.
Now I am a cougar. Just kidding.
Okay, I didn't say that. I did not say that. And you've flown home from Australia. Where'd you move back to, and what'd you do?
I moved back to Portland, Oregon, and I got into advertising. And I got a job with an agency in town called Cole and Weber at the time. And I was just an account manager at an ad firm on the PR side. So lots of press release writing and editing and media lists. And let's remember, this is in the early 2000s when the internet was new. So
Yeah.
I had just gotten email, and we were just learning how to do things on computers with the World Wide Web. So yeah.
Did you have an AOL account?
I had an AOL account. I did.
We all did.
The dial-up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have a modem that you had to put a phone like handset onto, or?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, you're not that old.
I mean, I am.
So tell us then about the next chapter in your life. You're this super cool account exec at an up and coming ad agency in Portland, and the internet's booming and reality TV shows starting to take shape, and MTV's got The Real World and all these other shows are popping up. And what happened then?
What did happen? I was at the ad agency for a couple years, and this was during the dot-com boom. There were all kinds of dot-coms that needed PR help. And then all of a sudden, they all crashed, and we got laid off. So my whole department got laid off, and I was sitting in my office, and this was crazy. I was 25 years old, and I had an office with a door. That was all my friends who worked for Nike still worked in cubicles. And I was like, I have a door. Like, I've made it big. This is it. And then I got laid off and was like, oh, maybe this isn't it. No. And the guy in the office next to me literally walked into my office and had printed out the application for a TV show called Survivor. And this is in 2001, that I'd never heard of. So I just kind of read over this application, and he said, it's a show for athletes. And I had already been racing mountain bikes at the time, because that's kind of another side story, is when I graduated from college, I had no fitness. I couldn't close a size 12 jean. I didn't feel good about myself. Yeah. And I don't think I really knew what was missing. I just knew that I wasn't the athlete that I used to be. So I started racing mountain bikes in the late 1900s, in like 93 or 94, really. I was still in college when I started kind of dabbling with racing, but then it was when I got into advertising, and I just couldn't find the motivation to get in shape. The gym and step aerobics was really big at that time, and wasn't doing it for me. So I started racing mountain bikes. And so I saw this. I would come in every Monday at the ad agency, all covered in bruises and beat up from my mountain bike races, and of course showed them off, and everyone thought I was crazy. Well, so this guy next to me was like, well, you come in on Monday, every Monday, like covered in bruises from your mountain biking. I thought this show that kind of features athletic events would be cool for you. So I pondered it and thought about it, and my parents and I went down to Blockbuster and rented the DVD for season 1 They were casting for season 3. And we kind of looked at each other and we're like, I don't know, why not? It looks kind of fun. So I made an audition tape using my mountain bike. There's other things I did in there that were probably inappropriate at the time, but who knew at a young 25? And I got on the show. It was a crazy audition process where they brought us to LA and sequestered us in a hotel room for 8 days and put us through interviews. We couldn't leave the room unless they invited us out. We had interviews with Mark Burnett, the show's producer, and Jeff Probst, the show's host. And at the time, Les Moonves was the president of CBS. And we met all those people and had all these big interviews. And then on the 9th day, they came to my hotel room and said, you're leaving for Africa in 10 days. Sign this, don't tell anyone, go upstairs, get some shots. We'll see you at the airport. Wow. I was like, okay, I'm going to Africa. Cool.
And what season was that for?
3, the third one
Season
ever.
3.
Yeah, Africa.
Wow. So you fly home, you got this incredible secret that you can't tell anyone. Of course, you told your parents and you swore them to secrecy, right? And then you pack up and you fly to Africa. How long were you there?
6 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
And really, really high level here, because this isn't really what the show is about, but I'm really interested. Tell us about your experience there.
Reality TV is crazy. Obviously, I didn't know what I was getting into because you can't possibly know what you're getting into. It was insane. I can't even find the words sometimes. I came home and I looked at my parents and I said, well, that was the best and the worst experience of my life. Like, it was real. They put us through 3 days of survival training because we were in a really dangerous area with the animals. So we had to learn to identify animal tracks and animal feces. We had to live in a thorn fence called a boma, where you take these acacia trees that have thorns this big and pile them around you. And then we couldn't move, until the producers came and moved us to a challenge. So there was a lot of sitting around and a lot of letting ourselves get agitated to the point of exploding, which is what they want. Wow. They create a space for you to get really bored. You only do things once a day, 2 days in a row, and then you have the tribal council the 3rd day. So each episode is 72 hours of footage. And it's just gnarly. They want to push you to the brink emotionally and physically. I got pretty sick out there. They had to put an IV in me. They diagnosed me with malaria and helicoptered me to a hospital, and I got a cut on my finger and it swelled up to the size of a golf ball. Oh. Just things in Africa are just more extreme.
Wow.
Yeah. And we couldn't tell anyone. I'm just sick in a hospital in Africa. I could die here and I can't even tell anyone I'm here.
Oh my goodness.
It was crazy, but they definitely push you to the brink and they want you to suffer. Because good TV is suffering, not happy people getting along. It's a social experiment. Once I got off the show, I was like, whoa, no one told me that was like a manipulative social experiment. I thought I was going to be an athlete. Nope.
That's incredible. And so how far did you make it in the show?
I got voted off 6th out of 16 people. That was frustrating.
That's solid.
It's okay. I made it about halfway. Yeah, I made it about halfway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. Do you watch Survivor today? Are you a fan?
I'm not a fan. I don't watch it. Huh. I never watched it again. I was traumatized.
There's one question I always had in the back of my mind that I keep telling myself, if I ever meet someone who is on Survivor, I'm going to ask them this question. It's a silly one, but you can only bring limited things, right? It's like the clothes on your back.
Yes.
What about sunscreen? Are you you're out in the sun all day long. Do they give you sunscreen at least?
Yes. Yes. I can answer yes and no questions. Yes.
That's my big question. That's the only thing I wanted to know.
Yes. Yes. Well, think of us women too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. They provided necessities so we could be okay.
Yeah.
Somewhat okay. They just starved us. They starved us and dehydrated us. That's all.
Did you lose a ton of weight?
Oh yeah. They told us all to fatten up. I mean, I had like 10 days to fatten up. I didn't know what that meant. So yeah, you lost weight really quickly. You lose fat first, and then you start losing muscle, and then you just become emaciated and a little delirious.
How about these other shows, Lindsey, like Alone or Naked and Afraid? Do you watch any of those, or did no?
No, I am tainted
Okay.
about reality TV. I can't watch it. I just feel sorry for the
Yeah.
people. I thought about starting a counseling service after I got voted off, just for reality TV people, to like help people realize you might not get the fame you thought you were going to get. You actually might be very damaged from this situation.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to leave Africa and switch to cycling. So you come back to the state. Actually, you know what? We're not even going to get to cycling because there's a lot of cool stuff that happens between then and now.
Oh boy.
Let's talk about you come back and, even though you got voted off sixth, the world noticed you, right? And you kind of made this little media circuit tour, right? I mean, you were on the Howard Stern show and Letterman, and you met, you went to awards shows. And tell us about that time. That must have been pretty cool.
That was super cool. They put us on a press tour. So I got flown to New York City for the first time in my life, first class, picked up in a limo. They pick you up in a limo every morning to take you to the shows. So I did Regis and Kelly. Well, we do the early show first, which is on CBS. Then Regis and Kelly, then David Letterman, Howard Stern. I was in an Eminem music video with him and Dr. Dre. It was insane. Like they treated us like full celebrities. We sat in the makeup chair. I shared a green room with NSYNC, and Justin Timberlake came over to say hi and asked if I wanted to take photos.
No way.
Yeah, I mean, they were so nice. I met tons of celebrities. I did celebrity dodgeball tournaments. I mean, our cast of Survivor was like throwing balls at the cast of Friends. And they're all very little, and we're all like big athlete type. So yeah, I did this whole press tour and red carpet walks, and it was very surreal and kind of an out-of-body experience. And then when they were done with us, that was it. They were done with us. Thank you very much. Have a nice life.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Hey, one of our research assistants in the studio here, of which we have thousands,
Totally.
was scouring the internet and ran across this video. And just since you mentioned the video that you did for Survivor, they ran across one called Big Balls.
Yeah.
And they were trying to figure out, was Big Balls your Survivor interview video, or was that just for fun?
No, that was almost 10 years later. Big Balls was when I started Ladies AllRide in 2010. Big Balls was my way of having a voice in the bike industry, basically making an infomercial to encourage more women to get into mountain biking. If they buy this product called Big Balls, it will help them have bigger balls. And then it turns out that balls actually don't help you do anything better, and that women actually don't need that. And it really comes from me hearing women say, when I would ask women at mountain bike races who were spectating, why don't you mountain bike? The answer was always the same. It's scary. It's a scary sport. And then they would say, I just don't have the balls for that. And I just kept hearing that. Even today, I hear that. Oh, I can't do that. I don't have the balls for that. I'm like, what do balls have to do with any of this? So I made a video making fun of balls.
That's interesting. I've watched it. It's pretty hysterical.
Thanks.
And to all of the listeners out there, you should Google search Lindsey Richter and Big Balls. And
yeah, make sure you say Lindsey Big Balls, because you don't know what's going to come up. Yeah. It's great that my name is associated with Big Balls.
And make sure, your privacy settings must be on, and clear your cache, clear your browser history afterwards, because it won't be the first thing that comes up.
It's a good video.
No.
And it's very apparent that women don't need balls to do anything brave.
Well, I mean, they just get in the way.
They do.
Men like this. Yeah.
That's the whole theme of the video.
You talk about it.
They get in the way.
You talk about it.
They're actually really weak.
In fairness, your video really should be called Huge Balls.
Yeah.
Because they are. All right. Let's move on before this goes sideways. So you finish with the media circuit, and then what? What happens? Do you say, you know what, I want to be a mountain biker and I want to teach the world to mountain bike? Or how do you transition from that to this?
Well, everyone was encouraging us to get agents. After that media blitz, most of us on the show were getting calls to just come do random things. Do you want to come sign autographs at Burger King's in Boston? $600 a Burger King. Come to Walmart in Indiana. We'll pay you $5,000. Come to New York and do a talk with the commissioner of the NBA to talk about this new online video player called Real Player. Like, all of a sudden I was getting hired and getting paid really well to do things I knew nothing about. Like, oh, okay, I'll stand there with the commissioner of the NBA and talk about Real Player. Yeah. And so I moved to LA and got an agent, and I slept on an air mattress in an apartment with another cast member from my show, Jesse. And we did the LA thing, and we went to auditions and parties and red carpet walks, and I totally lost myself again. This was not the place for me. I've already had an issue with self-esteem and mental health my whole life. I've dealt with depression. I've dealt with people telling me I have nothing to be sad about, which is a big deal because it made me feel like there was something wrong with me my whole life. And then going into a situation where everyone is rejecting you now and telling you you're not good enough and that you're just a lowly reality TV person trying to break into Hollywood, really hit hard. And here I was living in LA, trying to make it work. And the one thing that would bring me peace was going out and riding my mountain bike. And that is when the mountain bike path began, or the bigger path for mountain biking began. It was always I had started riding in the 90s. And so I realized that mountain biking was a way for me to just get away from it all and feel freedom and quiet. And so I would go ride. I would find trails or fire roads around LA and just get out and ride my bike. I had no one to ride with. I didn't know any other mountain bikers. And then I ended up going to the Sea Otter Classic in May of 2002.
Yes.
And my life changed very quickly.
What year did you go to Sea Otter?
2002.
Oh man, we had just bought RockShox in 2002.
I mean, I remember that year.
I remember that year specifically.
I remember rolling up to Sea Otter and seeing all the team tents and just being like, "Oh my gosh, this is the real deal. This is a big race."
Did you feel like when you arrived, like a little bit like this was home?
I think I was nervous. I remember being nervous, and I had met a guy in the industry who worked for Bell Helmets, and he's actually the one who encouraged me to come. I met him through a friend from the show, actually, from the TV show. And he's like, you should come check out this Sea Otter race. And I remember being in a hotel room with him, sleeping on the couch, and he had dinner with a guy named Brian Lopes. And he's like, oh, you got to meet this guy, Brian Lopes. He's the man in the bike world. And I just kind of remember like pre-riding the course because I was racing the cross country, probably sport division. And then I remember watching the slalom and like, oh, there's that guy, Brian Lopes. Oh, he's good. He's really good. And just not really, I think I'd heard of Allison Dunlap and Marla Streb, and that was it. And I didn't even know downhilling or slalom or any of these other disciplines were a thing. But walking around the pits, and I remember I had like a weird kink in my neck, and that guy brought me over to the Haro team tent, and the soigneur, however you say that, massaged my neck. And I was like, these guys have massage therapists traveling with them? I just remember my eyes being open to this like bigger picture race scene than the local Oregon races I had been attending in the 90s.
So awesome.
Yeah.
So awesome. Sea Otter's a great event, and gosh, I've been to dozens and dozens of them over the years, and I remember that one specifically just because we had just bought RockShox, and the promo T-shirt that we made was 02202002 because funny. The deal was done on February 2nd, 2002.
I love it.
That was our marketing creativity at its finest.
I love it. That's so funny. And now I have been to almost 20 Sea Otters, and I've been a big part of all those SRAM and RockShox marketing teas.
Totally. Okay, so you go to Sea Otter, you're loving mountain biking, you're doing some racing. Um, when was the moment that, afterwards where you said, you know what, this is something I want to do more of?
I mean, just being a part of the buzz of that scene, I think really attracted me to the sport. A couple weeks later, there was a Norba National at Big Bear, and I lived in LA at the time, so I ended up going to that race, and that's really where things shifted. I remember there was a woman emceeing the race named Lee Donovan, who I did not know at the time, and she was a huge Survivor fan. So every time I would come through the finish line, because we did multiple laps, she would be screaming, "Oh my God, it's Lindsey from Survivor, no way!" And so right away, I felt this welcoming, feeling in the bike world. Just having this announcer who I later found out was a pro rider who everyone admired and looked up to, and here she was fangirling on me because I was on this random TV show. And I remember talking to her and saying, I'm single and I'd love to date a mountain biker. I'm in my mid-20s. And she was like, "Oh, don't date a cross-country racer, date a downhiller." I remember her telling me that. And then I did meet a downhiller at that event and ended up traveling the country with him for the rest of the season because I made good money on Survivor. And he's like, "Come travel the country, race some of these bigger races." I ended up at Mount St. Anne. I rode John Dawson's bike at Mount St. Anne, and the seat
No way.
and the carbon seat post snapped in half in the middle of my race. And I had to bring it back to the RockShox truck. And you're super intimidated. There weren't a lot of girls around at the time. And I'm like, "I broke your bike." And I remember everyone around going, "Oh, that probably wasn't you. It was probably on its last legs." And this, this was back in 2002. And this gentleman of mine who became my boyfriend really pushed me into the sport. And I ended up managing his career. I ended up getting married a year later and managing his career for over a decade, turning him from a racer into more of an ambassador. And that's really what the story is I married a pro mountain biker and I helped him restructure his life from racing into being an ambassador. And I learned all about, we ran a kids team. We started the AllRide tour, ran a kids team, raced everywhere, promoted him. And that's where I started noticing over that next decade of my life that there weren't a lot of women involved. And really, I just wanted to find friends to ride with because I was always the token female and I was sick of it. And I was also surrounded by a bunch of pros at this point who weren't giving me any advice or really helping me along my biking journey. They were just kind of in their own worlds. So that's kind of what happened is I'm surrounded by some of these amazing mountain bike riders in the world and nobody's really giving me advice. They're telling me my bike knows what to do. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we noticed that about the same time, right? Where we were noticing that no one was paying attention to women and no one was educating them. There wasn't a comfortable place for them. And that's when we connected with Rebecca Rush and started the Gold Rush Tour, which you were, a part of in those early days. So you worked with your former partner for a decade building the AllRide Tour. Tell us about then the moment you broke off and then focused exclusively now on women and now is the Ladies AllRide Tour. How did that genesis happen?
Well, we sponsored a young girl in our kids program named Sierra. And so I kind of took her under my wing. And when I started coaching, I got certified to coach in 2010 because as I was traveling around, I would see all these women spectating or supporting their men in their racing. And I would ask them, "Why don't you mountain bike?" And like I said before, it was basically wrapped up in fear, just the fear of mountain biking and also the lack of knowledge. And so this young girl and I got certified to coach and I realized, holy cow, that certification program up in Whistler changed my life. Like there is actually a method to the madness that is mountain biking and nobody's really talking about this. So between this young girl kind of needing a mentor and me wanting to really find more friends to ride with, I started developing the idea for Ladies AllRide. And my ex, who is now my ex-husband, really encouraged it. he wanted to see me do something for women because for years I would actually have meetings with some of the sponsors and be like, so now that we've talked about his racing and we've got all the money decided where it's going, how about we just set a little chunk aside for a women's program? And nobody was really receptive. They just our bike sponsor wasn't receptive, just like, nah, we're good. And then I think it was at the Ashland Super D series where Rebecca had come with SRAM to do one of her first Gold Rush events. And her and I met and we kind of bonded. I remember crashing. I have a photo of us at the end of the race and I'm like holding up my bloody arm and I've got like a big hole in my stomach. I'm all proud of my bloody self. And I remember her whispering to me, hey, would you help me? I am pretty new to mountain biking and I just started this Gold Rush tour and I'm really not that proficient riding technical terrain. And we just became friends and then it just evolved into me being kind of one of her right-hand people for the SRAM women's program for the Gold Rush tour. It was all focused on women, and that kind of catapulted me to going to Sea Otter to do the Gold Rush tour and to go to Crankworks. And I mean, Rebecca and I traveled all over for a while, at least almost 10 years, I'm going to say, doing the Gold Rush tour. Well, no, at least 5 years. And I just started seeing the reaction to women feeling like they had a place to show up at, especially it was Sea Otter, I think, that really opened my eyes to the need to create space for women, because we would be at the SRAM booth and we would have our women's event and it would be packed with women standing on the outside, men like calling women over to come and hear what we were talking about. That's really when I started looking around going, there is a need for this. Women need to feel invited into this sport. You cannot just expect them to take this sport up without some kind of an invitation or some sort of welcoming arms to help them feel safe and comfortable. And so it was really through the SRAM Gold Rush tour, working with Rebecca, where I started to get the idea that, because hers wasn't really about coaching, it was more just giving women a space to feel they could come and ask questions. Because I know she felt that way when she got on SRAM. She was new to biking and felt intimidated to go ask the boys, like, what's wrong with my bike? And so it was cool to just see when you can create a space for people, how people will gravitate towards that space rather than just expecting them to join the sport. So really around 2010, 11 is where I started to get the idea that I made the video Big Balls as kind of a joke, like, come on, women, get into this sport. You don't need balls. Yeah. And then it evolved to like, wait, I want to create a program. And I knew from being in these sponsorship meetings how much money went into events. I knew how much money went into Sea Otter and Interbike. And I remember a sponsor telling me once, we spent $300,000 on Interbike. And I was like, if I could just have $5,000 of that. I remember being out to dinner with some of these bike companies and they would spend $11,000 on dinner. And I'd just be like, if I could have 1,000 of that.
Yeah. I'll cook you guys hot dogs and hamburgers and you give me the rest.
Give me the $9,000. Yeah. So I just saw this need, and really the Gold Rush tour, I think, helped me see what is possible. And then I think sitting in these sponsorship meetings and knowing that I needed to call what I wanted to do a series of events. I couldn't just say, hey, sponsor coaching. So I called it events. I said they're camps. They're like summer camps for women, where women are going to come. They're going to learn about suspension setup. They're going to learn about components. They're going to learn how to fix their bikes, how to take care of their stuff, how to fend for themselves by fixing a flat. They're going to learn more than just skills on a bike. We're going to create these events called the Ladies AllRide mountain bike skills events, where it's inviting women into the sport, teaching them how to ride, and helping them feel safe and confident on their bikes. But also the main point of it all was to build community and give women a place. You know, I got kicked out of my sorority. I really got the big middle finger, you don't fit in. And I felt that way a lot of my life as a woman. I felt like women were always competitive with me. I felt jealousy. I felt jealous of other women. I just found this really toxic environment with women. And I think working with Rebecca and then Lee Donovan and all these women in the bike world, those were my people. I found my people. in mountain biking. And we had some hard conversations and we butted heads because we're all competitive, but then we worked it out and it was beautiful. And I think we all kind of looked around at each other like, holy cow, we're making this work and we're a bunch of women. We're not supposed to get along, And so it really, my desire to help women feel like they have a place to fit in, I think overshadowed everything else because I never felt like I fit in. And once I found mountain biking and the lifestyle and the community of women, I wanted more women to know that this lifestyle exists for them. And I will do anything in my power to create a space where women can enter this sport feeling welcomed and safe.
Amazing. I've got chills right now. I love what you do. I love your mission.
Thanks.
I'm so excited and proud to be associated with you and our brands. It's really special.
Well, thanks. I mean, it was Live Cycling that came on board, and because of my long relationship with SRAM through my ex-husband and through Rebecca, it was a no-brainer. I mean, SRAM looked me in the eye and said, this is a no-brainer. We're on board. And SRAM and Live have been our two main sponsors since the beginning. And it's been amazing because I've been around this sport when it was a boys club and there were no men even in these companies for me to talk to. There were no women. There were no women who made decisions for me to talk to. So it's been really cool to see not only the evolution of more women getting involved in mountain biking, but also with the brands. I work with women at SRAM now. I work with women at RockShox now, and it's really cool. It makes us all feel like we have a place in this industry, and it's rad.
Yeah, it's exciting to see. I mean, even my leadership team is, 4 of 9 are women. It's pretty incredible.
It's cool.
You mentioned some struggles personally and professionally. I think we've covered the professional ones pretty well, but personally, you mentioned a little bit about, challenges with self-esteem and fitting in a sorority and depression, and how do you overcome stuff like that in your day-to-day, month-to-month, year-to-year?
I ride my bike. Honestly, my path into mountain biking, it started out as a fitness thing. I wanted my fitness back. I wanted my body back. And then it turned into like a competitive thing. I wanted that competitive side fulfilled. And then I started to relate it to life. When I met my now ex and I was surrounded by pros, I suddenly felt like I wasn't as good at mountain biking because they were all so much better. And I feel like that's what a lot of people felt getting into the sport, was this insecurity of getting hurt and not being as good as everyone or not being able to keep up. And I started to relate those experiences I was having on the bike to my mental health. I started to see similarities and just throwing a temper tantrum when things wouldn't go my way and wanting to throw the bike and feeling defeated and having these adverse reactions to what I felt was failure because I wasn't as good as everyone else. I learned about comparison, comparing myself to others. And it really illuminated the mental health component of riding. And I saw myself really clearly when I was on my bike. I was a temper tantrum thrower. I was a perfectionist. I was someone that wanted everyone to like me and wanted to be the best without the effort. And I started to be humbled by mountain biking, and it started to help me see deeper into who I was, that if I take the time to practice this sport and be patient and kind to myself and not beat myself up for my faults or my failures, I'm actually going to get better. And mountain biking is the kind of sport where the results are so measurable. It's like I didn't ride that downhill one when I first started mountain biking, and now I ride it without any issue, or I never rode over that big rock pile before, and now I do, or I got faster on the bike and more confident. So I started seeing the parallels between mountain biking and life pretty early on, that it is a sport. I think what I saw with mountain biking as far as marketing goes, it was all about Red Bull Rampage was the new thing in the early 2000s, right? Free ride. Right. Even my ex was doing that stuff, doing the free ride stuff, doing tricks. And that's all that was being advertised. That was on the cover of magazines. That Decline magazine was coming out. Like all these new magazines were coming out based on downhilling and free riding. And I would look at all these ads and all the press coverage that I would send in for my ex and be like, none of this is going to invite a woman into this sport.
Sure.
What is going to invite a woman into this sport is vulnerability, being open about the emotional component of mountain biking. It is intimidating. It is challenging. It can be scary at times. That is why you should do it. So I think really I segued from wanting women to just get into the sport to wanting women to see why they should get into this sport, and the emotional component that nobody was talking about in the ads is the why, because it can make you a stronger person. Mountain biking is the kind of sport that really can illuminate your fears, and you can make the choice to run from your fears or learn how to handle your fears. And once you learn how to handle your fears and you learn what you need to do to get through, I see it all the time now with women, but I really felt it with myself, that moment of like, holy cow, I'm capable of things that I didn't think I was capable of. And that was really when I was like, oh, more women need to do this, because I know for a fact my mental health has stopped me from doing so many things I wanted to do because I didn't have the confidence in myself. I didn't have the belief in myself. I'm choking up. Mountain biking showed me how to believe in myself, and that became my mission, to help other women see what they're capable of through mountain biking. It's a powerful sport.
It's powerful. I almost feel like we should end the show on that, but we're not going to, because there's so much more. There's so much more to your story. I love that. Lindsey, you've been doing the Ladies AllRide tour, the Live Ladies AllRide tour powered by SRAM.
Yep.
For quite some time now. Was there ever a moment where you just decided, you know what, I'm done. This is ridiculous. I'm out.
I mean, honestly, after COVID, that was kind of gnarly.
Yeah, forgot about that.
Yeah, the whole COVID year was weird, but that didn't deter me really. I think seeing more and more coaches pop up in mountain biking has been awesome. My dreams are coming true. I wanted to see more women involved with this sport. Now there's a lot of coaches out there. So I think I did go through a little phase of like, oh, are we just going to become irrelevant because I'm getting older? Honestly, I think my only insecurity that has even brought that thought to my head is my age, you know? And then on the flip side, I'm coaching 50s and 60-year-olds all the time. And I'm preaching, don't let age be a deterrent. Like, these 65-year-olds are badass women and they are capable. Yeah. And I think I don't want to quit. I love what I do. I love this sport. I love the effect that we have on women. I think I got caught up in that competitive side of me a little bit, and that insecure side, which I've just always had to work through. But age isn't going to stop me or slow me down, at least not in the foreseeable future. So at this point, no. I did quit mountain biking, though, when I first got married, which was weird. I got married in 2003. And for a couple years, I just didn't feel good enough. I felt like I was around all these pros and I didn't feel good enough. And I just didn't think the sport was for me. And then when I left LA and we ended up moving to Bend, back to my home state, and I got really into mountain biking again in like 2004 or 5, that's when I was like, oh no, this sport is a powerful sport and I need to be a voice for this sport for women.
Lindsey, had you not sort of found this adventure, life, work place that you're in, is there another career that you would have gone into, or is this it? Is this the one?
I mean, I do feel like you hear a lot of during your life to try to find your calling, right? Try to find what you're meant to do. And I think that's really scary for a lot of young people. There's a lot of pressure in that. Like, what if I don't know? And I like to be a voice for people in this respect that you might not know. I didn't know until I hit late 30s that this was something I wanted to do. But more importantly, this definitely feels like my calling. I've never felt more confident in my abilities in anything as I do in my ability to inspire and coach women in mountain biking. I think about it a lot. I think about, if our camps don't fill, it's over for me, right? Like, that's it. I have done some other things that could generate an income, but if people don't show up at our camps, that's how we make our money. And I have thought, what would I do? And I will be dead honest with you. I looked around at Crankworks this year, and I think I said to Sarah, I could work for SRAM. That would be okay. I said, if this doesn't work out, it's probably the only company I think I would want to work for. And it would probably be marketing in the bike industry.
Well, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
And it was SRAM. I
Well,
was like, I could work here. This company's awesome.
well, thank you. Thank you for that. We are almost out of time, but it'd be a big miss if we didn't talk about your book.
Yeah, I wrote a book.
Tell me about that. I can't believe you wrote a book.
I know.
Where'd that come from?
Wait,
Tell us
it's
about
right
it.
here. Hold on. Look at
Oh, good. Show props even. Visuals. Tell us about Etiquette Is a Big Word. Where'd that come from?
I'm so excited about this project. This was super random. During COVID, I got a call or just a message online from a woman named Heidi who she just said, I like your writing style, and said, I know you don't know me, but I have this idea. During COVID up in Seattle, the trails were really crowded and it just seemed like nobody had any etiquette. And she said, I had this idea that maybe a kid's book about etiquette could span the generations. And I would love for you to write it. And she had an outline of kind of like the lessons she thought that we should put in there. And then I sat on it for a little while and I just thought, I don't know, a book about etiquette for kids, that sounds like a mess. And I remember saying that to one of my friends. I said, an etiquette book for kids, I don't know, etiquette's just kind of a big word. And she just looked at me and goes, there's your title. And once I had the title, I was like, I'm not going to dumb this down. Because I thought when you write for kids, you have to make it real basic and use really short words. And I started writing, I just started looking at children's books and I kept going back to Dr. Seuss. And as an adult, Dr. Seuss is still fun to read. And he even makes up his own words. And I just thought, okay, if it's going to be a book about etiquette, and etiquette is a big word, is the title, it has to be done in rhyme. And so I spent an entire winter just studying rhyme books. And there's an app you can get on that helps you find words that rhyme with each other. And it just came out. I just started writing this story in rhyme and it just felt right. And so there's my future. If, coaching doesn't work out in the long run, I definitely am. The book is called Mountain Biking Adventures with Izzy. And it's great because Izzy's our main character, our strong woman character. And etiquette is a big word is just one of her adventures. So I've left it open for the life lessons that me, Izzy, has learned on her bike. She's going to share that with the world.
That's amazing. I need to get. You shared it with me at Sea Otter. It must have just hit the newsstand. Then I need to get myself a copy. I can't believe I don't have one.
I can send you a copy, but I'm excited.
No. I'm happy to get one. So you're Izzy, and who's Lyle?
Lyle is my business partner's son. His name is Lyle. And so to just pay her respects as I call her my life partner. She really has been this driving force behind Ladies AllRide. She runs all the camps. She does all the work that I couldn't do, all the details and the organizing. And she has taught me what it means to be a partner. Going through divorce was one of the hardest things I've ever been through in my life. It was really traumatizing. But I openly talk about that at the beginning of my camps. I talk about mental health and how I think mountain biking is so important for mental health. I also talk about going through divorce and being very afraid to face life on my own. And having my bicycle and my community of women showed me that I'm good. I can handle life on my own. I can handle life as long as I have a community of strong women and my bike and other things that excite me. I'm okay without a husband. So thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you, mountain biking.
Thank you, mountain biking. Let's give a shout out to your business partner as well. What's her name and where is she in the world?
Yeah, her name is Meredith Brandt and she lives here in Bend and she's just a dream come true. We're like little soulmates. It's awesome. We're really an example of women working together and doing a good job at it. We have a lot of respect for each other. And it's a really powerful thing when women come together because I really think there's this uplifting thing that happens between women that I just want to keep getting out there and promoting and getting more women to work together and ride together and build community.
Amazing. Well, Lindsey, we are out of time now, but a big, big thank you to you and Meredith, but especially you for being so great and doing what you do. Congrats on the book. Congrats on the camps. Enjoy the winter. And we will put in the show notes and online all the detail where people can find out about the Ladies AllRide tour and the book as well. I'm assuming you can find the book on Amazon and all the great places that people can find books. And yeah, I just want to say what an honor it has been to hang out with you and know you and watch your journey and help support it. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to you and SRAM, the whole SRAM family, for supporting this dream. It's been awesome. I love all you guys.
Sure. You got it. Thanks, Lindsey. Take care.
Okay, you too.